salam, and welcome to Muslim ViewPoint. It's a new podcast series brought to you by American Muslim Today, a groundbreaking non-profit national digital newspaper. Here at AMT, we champion civic engagement by informing, empowering, and amplifying the diverse voices of almost 30 million Muslims here in the US and other Western countries. I'm Rifat Malik. I am AMT's editor-in-chief, and today we have an interview with a man who is poised to make electoral history here in Texas. Attorney Salman Bajani resoundingly won his House District 92 primary to become Democratic nominee for the Texas legislature. If elected in the upcoming midterms, as expected, he will be the first Muslim to do so in the state's 177-year history. Speaking to AMT earlier this year, he talked about his amazing journey to the American dream, started as a Pakistani immigrant working in a gas station, and also what motivated him to enter local politics. So first of all, Salman, thank you so much for joining us. And I want to congratulate you on being winning the primary for House District 92. And I'd love for you to start off by telling us about this victory and how it feels to become the first Muslim, the first South Asian, and indeed the first minority to win a nomination in your city of Euless.
Yeah, so this district is actually much bigger than City of Euless, right? It has 6 cities in it, which is Arlington, Grand Prairie, Hearst, Euless, Bedford, and Small Silver, Fort Worth. So yeah, it absolutely feels really great. We've worked really hard for the last 4 months. I've personally put in 14 hours a day on the campaign, every sort of, waking hour of my time to make sure that we don't go to a runoff, because there were 3 people contesting for the primary. And we received out of everybody 57.5% of the vote. So really blessed to have that accomplishment under our way. But yeah, it happened because, we did the hard work and reached out to the community at large and just, campaigned really well.
Well, you already made history in 2018 as the first Muslim and South Asian, and again, I think non-white minority elected official to, this is Euless City Council, right?
That's right, yes.
So tell us about, that particular process, that road to winning that election. And I know that there were some issues that you faced, and they became quite sort of headlines. So I'm really interested to know how you navigated those hurdles, and what you think led to your eventual success.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. And, just like everybody, a lot of other community members, I was not politically involved, back, when I immigrated to this country. But our former president is what it maybe made me come out and have because, I figured out that he was not being nice to immigrants and Muslims generally. And so I felt that we need to be the change that we wanted to see in the world. Like if we don't get involved, if we don't get a seat at the table, will be on the menu, and Muslims have been on the menu far too long. And so that's when I decided to run for city council. But before that, I'd already been serving. I'm really blessed to have started that service journey ahead of time. It wasn't political. I was serving as a park board member in my city of Euless, and so I was serving since 3 years. And I felt this would be the logical step of going to run for city council, where we do have a lot of Muslims and South Asians, and actually it was a minority majority city. It is still minority majority city, but yet no non-white person had been elected to Euless City Council. And so I knew that there was a hard road ahead of me, but also knew that being Muslim, I would get a lot of Islamophobia, but did not realize to what extent that would happen. It's easier to sort of, for people to put stuff on Facebook against, Muslims and, put things that are really outrageous, even for me to even say on this, show. But at the end of the day, they came out and even gave me grief, and my wife. They told my wife that that she's a terrorist and I'm a terrorist. That they would not vote for me. They told me that I needed to eat pork. I needed to eat pork in order to get their vote, right? So that way, basically, impliedly denounce my faith. So that way, then they can elect me. Or they said that I'm going to bring Sharia law to Euless, or that I'll make women wear hijab in the city of Euless. And it's just a lot of nonsense. And even like very educated people said that, but I think it came from fear, it came from misinformation. And so I don't fault them for it, because, I think human tendency is such, right? If you don't know particular, faith or race, or any particular one, you will have some, fear, right? People are afraid of change, because I would make that change. And, but again, I kept on being positive and showing people that, hey, I'm here because I'm passionate about my service to the city. I could be making money at my law firm. I'm an attorney. I bill by the hour, right? So I could do that, or I could be here actually giving my time voluntarily to the city of Euless, and really make it better. And that's what I intend on doing. And people told me that I had a dangerous agenda being a Muslim, and that I would bring that forth when I get elected. So I said, hey, I've been serving on the park board. Have you ever heard anything about me? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard that I said anything negative about anybody? Right? And so that was really nice. And I think, and I tell a lot of people that, hey, if you want to run for office, start at the local level and start at non-elected levels in your city, so that way people can get to know you. And I think they saw that, right? Yes, I had been serving the city for the last 3 years very quietly, doing my job, not bragging about it. And so that's what I think, another reason why we were successful. But I think the main reason we were successful is we outworked everybody. We knocked on 5,000 doors, brought actually no, we knocked on 10,000 or 5,000 doors, made 10,000 phone calls, and then we brought 1,000 first-time voters out to the polls. They'd never voted in the municipal election, they'd never voted in the presidential election, they never voted at all. And I think that's what it takes to really win in a very competitive race, is when you have to expand the electorate and bring out people that generally don't come out, right? And so that's how, and obviously just being humble, being professional, being positive. Because had I reacted to what they were telling me, that was exactly what they wanted me to do, right? They would film that and say, this is what the true Muslim looks like, right? This is what the true Salman looks like, right? And so I kept it very, very positive, and I kept on telling them. And I think that's the professionalism is what really spoke to people, because, they can really make out, people can make out if you're being fake or if you're being genuine. I think they saw the genuine desire. And again, it was a historic race, because my own state representative at the time, who was sitting in District 92, which I am running for, and inshallah I'll be elected in November. And so it's become a full circle, because he actually attacked me for being Muslim and for being an immigrant, for being an attorney, for being a Democrat, all these things that were supposed to make me look really bad. And he put on a public post on Facebook, and Channel 11 came out and covered us. Channel 5 came out and covered us as well, and said, what do you have to respond to that? And I didn't respond to him. I just posted another response on my Facebook page and had 20,000 likes right away. And basically it was just responding that, hey, all these things make me a good person and who I am. It doesn't make me anything bad. And, it's unfortunate that my own state representative is coming out against me, because he's my representative as well. So instead of representing me, he's actually coming out against me. And so that made national news when we won our race. And so really blessed. I think that got us also in. A lot of people came from like Mansfield, from Plano, from all across DFW regions to come out at the polls, and they brought their kids, they brought food and snacks for us and said, hey, this is a good fight that you're running. And we wanted our kids to see that in person. And that's why we're here to support you. We can't vote for you, but we're here to support you and let you know that whatever's happening to you is bad and it's not American values. We're here to tell you that. And so that was really, really nice to have that outpouring of support.
So, in fact, it had the reverse effect of what
Yes.
he intended, and others of his ilk. It actually brought people together for true American values, which they saw that you represented as an immigrant. You are the ultimate American dream, and the story of success and the work ethic, obviously, that you exemplify. So, and I just wonder, throughout all that process, was it particularly inspiring when you were able to make connections with, not minorities, but the non-minority community, despite all the hate that you experienced, they were still able to see you as a person and value you. What did that feel like?
That felt great. And especially Faith in Texas is a nonprofit organization that actually also came to our rescue. They issued a statement that was joint statement by imams, priests, rabbis, like all religious faith leaders, Gurdwara, heads as well. Everybody issued a joint statement saying that they condemn what Jonathan Stickland is doing, that, he's attacking this, Salman for being a Muslim. And we can't see that, right? And that's not American values. And so that felt really nice, that there are a lot of people who are fighting against bullying, who are fighting against racist comments and all that. And it was heartwarming to see that, because when you were in the thick of all these, when you're getting a lot of hateful speech right on your face and your whole families there. In fact, on the first day, I even brought my kids. And then after that, I was like, I don't think they need to see that, because they will always see the world differently if they see all this. And so it's basically very political, right? It's not, my neighbors are good people. There are a lot of good people in the city of Euless. I think it's just were very political people who could not stand seeing a Muslim ever elected to public office, right? And so I keep on saying that, and I think again it felt really warm to hear that from non-minority, non-Muslims, and everybody that's saying that, and that we're here to support you. Just hang in there and do the great work that you're doing.
Absolutely. And so you're going to be standing on a Democratic ticket. I'd like to know, what are the main issues that you perhaps in the local elections, but also in the state elections, what are you going to be standing for? What are the main policies? What is the change or the services that you are going to be providing for your community?
Sure. I mean, I have an ambitious sort of, goal. There are sort of 5 things that I was, speaking to voters as they came out. Was our voting rights have been under attack in the last legislative cycle, right? And we saw the effects of that. Basically, there were 20+% of mail-in ballots that were rejected because of that law, right? And that law basically said the 4-digit code that you registered with, whether it's 1 year ago, whether it's 30 years ago, you need to remember that and put that on your mail-in ballot, envelope, right? And what if you didn't remember it? What if whatever, right? So that had a chilling effect on voting as well. And Democrats generally vote more mail by mail, right? Especially during a pandemic, right? That's really helped people. So that's one of the issues that, and we want to try to make it like on a Saturday. The election day should be on a Saturday instead of a Tuesday, right? So more people can go out and vote. It should be an automatic registration, right? As soon as you become a citizen, or as soon as you get your driver license, you should automatically be registered. If you don't want to register, you can fill out a piece of paper and saying, hey, I want to opt out, right? And that's the better way of going ahead with that. Again, now again, that's an example of one of the issues, but with the Republican controlled legislature, right? I think it is going to be an uphill battle, right? So that's why we need to make relationships across the aisle to make sure that things happen that are at least are not reversed from that, right? Same thing with women's rights, right? The abortion law, that we have the most conservative abortion law in the entire nation, and it violates constitutional law. I mean, I'm an attorney, so I feel that's against the Constitution right now of the United States. And so that's another thing that we had a setback in. How can we make that better? Because women should have the right to choose and have the discussion with their medical provider. It's a healthcare issue, not another political issue in my view. And then also we're having to make sure that healthcare is better for everybody, right? Especially during the pandemic and what we've seen. We need to pass Medicaid expansion that makes common sense, will make millions of dollars that will come to the state. And then we also have education. Public education is really important for me, so I'm going to be working on that to the extent that we can. And then fixing the electric grid is another issue. So these are the 5 issues that I campaigned on. And like I said, they are ambitious, but I think there will be some other issues that I would like to focus on as well. Like, for example, there was this law there was a bill that was wanting to be passed last cycle, was that the Eid should be a state holiday, right? And it doesn't take away from anything, right? It doesn't affect the wallet. It doesn't affect anything. It just gives Muslims priority over other religions, right? Yeah. And so I think that didn't pass the Senate, it passed the House, it did not pass the Senate. So that's another thing that I would like to work on. Another thing was like the imams should be able to officiate weddings, right? And so that's something that again gives religious parity to everybody. And then another thing that is that during the pandemic, and it stayed after as well, but there was like bandages and syringes left inside the person that would pass away. And when we performed the ghusl ceremony, the people were not able to do it properly because they had syringes or bandages, right? So in order to perform ghusl ceremony properly, we were passing a bill to say that, hey, let's take all the bandages. The hospital should be able to take out the bandages and syringes before giving the body over to the family. Again, very simple. Like this is not huge, yeah, right? So I think we need to start taking baby steps before we start crawling and then walking, inshallah.
Mm-hmm. But what is extraordinary about you saying, even though it is about a parity and equality, and it's a very simple, thing that you're hoping to enact, sadly, it's not there already. And were it not for a Muslim representative it would never be there. So that kind of speaks to the importance of Muslims getting politically engaged and civically engaged. So yeah, so totally understand that.
And we're not going to get there, even if, like, let's say, I mean, inshallah, I'll be elected as the first Muslim, the first South Asian, but that's just 1 out of 150 votes. And even if it passes the House, you have 31 state senators that may not even have a day in the Senate floor. So what we need is a really amazing relational organizing network across the state of Texas that registers more Muslims than ever before, and then ensures that they come out in large numbers. Because what anybody is afraid of, any politician, any elected official is afraid of, am I going to get a challenger and will I get enough votes, right? So if you speak to that and say, hey, look, I mean, let's, instead of challenging somebody and having an opponent, saying, hey, there are 50,000 Muslims in your district, right? Okay, if they can be engaged either way, right? Let's work together. You know, we're already telling you in advance, let's work together because this community needs representation. Can you provide that? So that's why I feel like I don't feel like I have 200,000 people in my district. That's what every district looks like. I have more than 1 million people because I have 500,000 Muslims. They don't have any representation right now, and 750,000 South Asians in the state of Texas. So plus the 200,000 people that I have in my district. And so I feel like I have to carry the burden for everybody and to make sure that my other colleagues know the fact that, hey, there are a lot of Muslims in your district, even though they are not registered, even though they haven't come out. See, that becomes more challenging, right? Now, if I said to somebody that, hey, you have 50,000 Muslims in your district, they could be a force to reckon with. Let's work with me or work with the legislature body to make sure that we can pass legislation for Muslims, right? And that sends a stronger message than just electing one or few Muslims to the state of Texas. Obviously, it's important to have that so you can have one champion for everybody. It's important to get somebody elected, but at the same time, it's also important to go out and vote, whether you live in my district or not, right? Mm-hmm. That's what I'm going out and telling the mosques. I'm speaking to them after Jummah prayers and letting them know, hey, please come out, vote. Please register each and every person in your household.
Absolutely, absolutely. I wanted to just go back to the beginning in a sense. Just wanted to understand a little bit more about your journey. You know, basically, as I said before, you know, to achieving the American dream. You came from Pakistan, I think, at the age of 10. I think you were in Canada initially, and then you moved to here to Texas. Was it straight from Canada?
It is Texas. Yes.
Texas. So tell us about that journey. What were you know, I don't know if you went through you know, sort of hardships, or how did you get to, you know, being poised to make history right now? What was the process, and what were the kind of hurdles that you had to experience to get here?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. I feel that I came to the United States when I was 19 years old, and it was tough to immigrate and get legal status, right? We had to pay attorneys a lot of money to go through that process. But again, you know, when there's a will, there's a way. You know, we got around. I mean, we did, you know, like a proper visa, and we got naturalized as well. Another hurdle is just coming to a new country, you know, making new contacts, new friends, trying to figure out how you can even put food on the table. And then as we were doing it, this is 1999, right? So as we're immigrating to a new country, all of a sudden in a few years, as we're trying to get our bearings straight, you know, 9/11 happened, right? And so that was really, really, you know, sort of horrifying for the Muslim community itself, because everybody looked at us very differently than they looked at us right before 9/11, right? And so that was something that, you know, my father had a business, you know, it failed miserably because of that, right? Because a lot of discrimination. I mean, people chose, you know, business owners who were white and other non-Muslim business owners than business owners who were Muslim. And so that felt really bad. And so we got past that, but then at the end of the day, you know, we had to put food on the table. And so it was difficult. So I had to work at gas stations. And I remember starting off, I worked at gas station, mopping floors, cleaning restrooms, and stocking shelves for $6 an hour. That was the lowest point in my life ever. Like, I've never had that kind of life. But I mean, that's when I met my wife, and we worked together, and we moved up the sort of ladder, became a cashier at a gas station, then became a manager at that same gas station, and then bought my first gas station in Arlington in 2003. And so that's when sort of the recovery started to happen, and really worked hard all the way, and then had 4 gas stations when I thought about, you know, when the next recession happened in 2008, right? And 2008 happened, my daughter was born. And at that time, I just felt that, you know, again, as Muslim, we sort of have to grapple with some of the identity issues that we have, right? So I felt that my daughter would grow up one day to ask me, Dad, why are we selling alcohol and cigarettes when we don't consume them ourselves, right? If it's bad for human consumption, then why are we selling it, right? And I mean, anybody else can sell it, but why are we selling it? And so I felt that's not the right move for me, right? So let me go ahead and do something more honorable. And that's when I started to explore internally and externally. I went to my mentors and I said, what can I do? And then, there were multiple other options, but then one stuck out is law, right? That once you become an attorney, then not only is an honorable profession, but also you can do nonprofit work, you can do pro bono services to people who can't afford attorneys. And so that really stuck out and said, okay, how can I really give back to my community as well as have a good profession? And that's how I went to law school in the evening program at SMU. I'm glad they offered that, so in the morning, I would go to my business from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. I went to my businesses because I still had to have the business money coming in because SMU is expensive as well, and had to put food on the table. And then from 6 p.m. at night to 9:45 is when my classes ended every day. And so it was a tough schedule for the next 4 years. And then I graduated in 2013. Again, I'm so blessed. I think everybody sees the politician, but they don't see all their family. And so again, kudos to my wife, for being with me throughout that step. And those 4 years, she was a single mother. I mean, she tells me that, and I know that that was actually true. And she was sending not 2 but 3 kids, myself also, to school, right? And so it was, it was a different journey for her. But luckily, Alhamdulillah, 2013, I graduated, worked for a large law firm called Haynes and Boone, and then started my own practice after a couple of years. And so again, being in law, you're already exposed to politics, right? You expose, and that's what actually one of the state representative right now is. His name is Rafael Anchia, in Dallas. And so he's the one. I sat right next to him at Haynes and Boone. He was an attorney at Haynes and Boone at that time, and he said, as an attorney, it behooves you to give back to your community and to start serving your city. And that's when I served on the park board that I told you about. Yes. And so when I became an attorney, as soon as that, I started to serve on the park board, and that's what led me to think of the next step when we elected our former president in 2016. And if you remember, 2016 we elected him, and it was a dark day for me and my family. I was trying to explain to my kids how this person that preys on the divisiveness of American society will lead a great nation. But again, life hits you, and you get in your routine. And not until January 2017, when he was sworn in, the first thing he did was institute a Muslim ban from 15 countries. And so that was like the pinnacle of it, right? And then I felt this is not right. And so I was at the DFW airport helping my brothers and sisters come out of the airport, and they were just targeted because they're Muslims. And that really, really enraged me as an attorney, and that didn't make sense. And so that's when I decided to run for office, at that time, that, this is it. Enough is enough. We need representation. And so really blessed to have that journey, but everything sets you up for that, right? And so if I had not been serving on the park board, it would take another year or 2 for me to get there, right? So that's why I always say, start giving back in some capacity and then slowly build on that.
Absolutely. I mean, extraordinary story, your life and what you've achieved. I just wonder, just in the last minute or so of this interview, if you have, some advice for minorities, Muslims, perhaps in particular, just some about to the Supreme Court Justice hearings as well. And it's something that really resonated in African-American woman to the Supreme Court Justice, and the court. And I just wondered, what is your advice? What is your overriding message to Muslims who perhaps, have a goal in sight, but it looks like a really long road, a really long journey? What is something that you think can sustain them, that can keep them going?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know if there's one advice that I can give, but it's just, if you look back to the gas station mopper who's making $6 an hour, and you told that person that you'll be a state rep one day, I mean, that was not believable, right? But I think what sets me apart and what I've done is being outside your comfort zone, right? I mean, every time I've tried to make myself outside because everybody has a comfort zone, they stay in all their life, and they're not able to sort of break through that glass ceiling, right? If I had stayed within my comfort zone, either in going to law school, I would not have. I would just be owner of 4 gas stations, and that's what I would be, right? But something made me think that there is a higher power, there's a higher purpose why I'm here, and how can I maximize it by going outside my comfort zone and looking at opportunities that you typically would not, right? Like a first generation immigrant would never even think about running for office because there's so much that they have to look down and work and all that. But I was able to do that because of the steps that we took in going to law school and doing different unconventional things, right? And I think that's what has made me in a successful person. And I think that's what I would really give everybody as an advice. And again, I always tell people that reach out to me if any time you want to think about running for office, because there's so many steps that you need to do before that. So don't think one fine day, oh, I'm going to run for the state, or there's a lot of things that need to be done before that to really prepare you for that. And we need to really, and anytime there's a Muslim in any public office, I always want to make sure that we have the ethics of Islam that are forefront. We're exhibiting that, right? Because that's what people look at. I'll give you a quick example is, so there's Zo Qadri, a big shout out to him. He's running for Austin City Council. He's a really, really amazing, really professional person. I met him a few months ago and he told me, Salman, I'm running for elected office because of you. I didn't even know about him. I think I briefly met him one time after I won, but he's like, you were the first person on TV that I saw that was a Muslim, that was showcasing our Islamic faith and our values. And you were a protagonist. You were actually a good person, right? Everything else that you see on TV, is usually a terrorist or something else. And you gave me hope to run for office and do something better in my community. And now I'm running for Austin City Council because of you, right? And so you never know who you'll inspire, but always have the proper, ethics of Islam in mind, because then otherwise, people point to that and say, oh, that's what Muslims look like, right? And Muslims and the mainstream community needs to see more Muslims serving other communities, serving and being contributing citizens of the United States. And that's what, I always try to have projected.
Absolutely. I think that's a wonderful thing to project. And really, I think everyone appreciates your offer of mentorship, because that is very important in the process of public office, in any walk of life. Frankly, we do need that helping hand and that support for each other. But Salman, I really want to thank you for taking time to speak to us. I think your story, your message, your success is something that is felt keenly by the Muslim community. It's a moment of pride, your election, and also it's a source of hope as well. So thank you for your perseverance and for your success as well. And we look forward to attending your initiation or your first day in office. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us this week. From me and my team, Hadiya Spahalich and Maya Gaylor, be sure to join us next week. And you can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at American Muslim Today. If you'd like to read more about this story and access more digital content, feel free to get onto our website, AmericanMuslimToday.com. See you next week.